to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. And this, my friends, is The Thunder Show, a.k.a. the internet's most passionate wine program. We should drop the internet's part, Mott. The world's most passionate wine program. And I'm going to embarrass her, but I feel so ridiculous to even share the table with this legend.
No.
Yes. You can do all your humble, classy things you want, but I'm not going to let you get away with it.
Not buying it.
This is one of... Let's put it this way. I knew who she was probably 2 weeks after I started learning about wine. I mean, this is somebody who I have enormous respect for, somebody that I was very fortunate to get to know recently in Tennessee, of all places.
Yes.
And it was quite enjoyable. Somebody that thousands of winemakers look up to and is widely considered one of the best winemakers in the world. Heidi, Barrett, thank you so much for being on the Thunder Show.
Thank you very much. Very kind.
I am massively flattered you're here.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here.
Now you're sick.
I'm a little sick, but give Sniffy Sniff a whole new meaning.
Yeah, sure does.
I brought my
And
own
she's
little
sharp.
Sniffy
I mean, did you
Sniff.
see that right off the bat? She knocked. This is who she is, guys. I'm trying to tell you, please. I'm telling you right now, if this was old school, I'd be like, put your VHS tapes in and record this. I'm very excited about this episode. Heidi, thank you so much.
Fun.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah? Things are well?
Yeah, things are good.
You're in what are you doing in the East Coast?
I am here selling wine. I have
Work in the market?
Yeah, work in the market. Did work in the market today, yesterday. Have one more day of that tomorrow in New York, and kind of reintroducing the brand. I have a few accounts, but adding a few more and getting the
You can
wine
bring
back
it here,
back on a few
We're not
lists.
scared. Yeah, don't worry. Go ahead, do your thing.
So yeah, I have a new distributor in town. So here, kind of doing a staff training and meet and greet. Thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome.
And so you're working in the New York market, and
Exactly.
who's the new distributor?
Empire.
Empire. Got it. And what about what's going to happen in New Jersey?
I don't know.
Trying to figure it out.
I need to figure it
Are
out.
we going to
Yeah.
yap about that afterwards?
Yeah, we
maybe?
are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, because I definitely don't want to be out of the line, and Empire doesn't distribute. in New
Yeah,
Jersey, so we'll
yeah,
talk about
no,
that.
exactly.
Okay, so why don't you tell? I'm sure plenty of people know, but we have lots of people who are watching who don't know who you are.
Okay.
And though that they should be embarrassed.
No.
And why don't you tell everybody out there your story? Why don't you tell them a little bit about who you are,
Kind of in
where
a
you come
nutshell, I've been making wine for a really long time. I grew up in a winemaking family in the Napa Valley. My dad was also a winemaker, actually still is. And so I just, started from the ground up, just as a kid in high school working in vineyards and in as many cellars as I could, and worked my way up from the bottom, went to UC Davis, have a degree in winemaking that I graduated, almost 30 years ago. That's kind of a frightening number, but, never do the math, I guess. It's been good. So I started in the cellar. I still do some cellar work, worked my way up through being assistant winemaker to winemaker. From in the early 80s, I've been doing that job.
Drop some names of different wineries. Let's go back to high school. What are some of the wineries you like?
Yeah, high school, gosh, and while I was at Davis, my dad worked for the Monterey Vineyard. Early on, he worked for BV. Even before that, worked for Gallo, going way back to like the late 50s when I was born and when I was a kid. And so my summer job for 4 years was at the Monterey Vineyard, like in the early 70s through high school. And at college too. And then right out of school, I went to work for Justin Meyer at Franciscan, and that's when Silver Oak used to be made at Franciscan, which a lot of people don't know that before they had their own winery. Silver Oak was actually made at Franciscan, so some of the earlier vintages, and Justin Meyer.
He was a good guy.
Was a great guy, longtime family friend. I really miss him. He was awesome. I was a flower girl at his wedding, actually. So yeah, it's
Fun
how long
fact.
I've known him. Yeah, even when he was a Christian brother, he used to come over and play the banjo and make pizza for us when we were kids and stuff like that. It was awesome. So let's see, from Franciscan, I went to work in Australia. I did an internship in Germany and Australia, actually, right out of school. I worked for Lindemans. And so I worked in that. Yeah, huge. I know, both Coonawarra and
Did you like
Barbarossa.
Australia?
Yeah, I did. They have really different technology than what we have, a different set of circumstances to work with, and fascinating industry. I definitely learned a lot there, and I learned a lot in Germany too about balancing wine. Actually, came from the Germans. That really kind of where the light bulb went on for me about.
Stuck with you?
Yeah, it has. Where balance is balance, no matter what color, what flavor, what component. It's all about roundness in the mouth.
Did you gain a bigger respect for white wine in Germany?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, but I grew up. I loved Riesling when I was in high school and stuff too. I loved German wines anyway. So. Yeah, partly probably how I steered towards making that Muscat, which we'll get to. Yeah, so continued to keep working for good winemakers, learned a lot from Justin. Also went to work for Jerry Looper, who was really one of the top in his game in the early 70s there, late 70s and early 80s. And so I was his assistant winemaker at Bouchain at the time. And then got hired away to go make wine for the Buehlers in early 80s. So that was my first head winemaker job when I was
And how was that first
25.
day to be the head winemaker?
Scary. I was only 25. I was a puppy, but I'd been working for, almost 10 years already in the business. So, a lot. Kind of, I remember just laying awake at night thinking, my gosh, I'm running this whole little cellar. And, a little bit daunting, but you kind of step up to the plate when you get those opportunities. So it was a great,
the good ones,
great chance. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. So I was there for about 6 years. In the meantime.
And what did you work on there? Cab, Chard,
Yeah,
Zin?
it was Zinfandel and Cabernet. Also, it was sort of during the heyday of white Zin becoming just a big boom. So we started making some white Zin.
Right.
Yep.
You guys were were you like the premium
one of the
player?
top. Exactly.
Yeah.
We were always in that top little echelon of if there is such a thing for white Zin, that's what we made. And even a little bit of Pinot Blanc, which was a blast to make. So that was great, and that got some great awards and accolades and things like that. So it's fun to make white wine.
'Cause, I'm not going to waste this opportunity of having you here. So I think you can paint some pictures for us, that I think everybody's going to enjoy. And I already know this is going to be a 2-part episode because I'm not letting you go.
Okay.
During this time, let's stick in this time for a minute.
Okay.
The wine industry itself was the wine retail and consumer industry was so different. This is still like the Spectator was just starting to happen, right?
Just getting going. Yeah.
What was happening? What was moving the needle? We're probably starting to phase out of what will end up be looked upon in the encyclopedias, well, not anymore, Wikipedias of the world.
Right.
When they look back, we're going to probably look from like 85 to 2000 or 10 as the era of the critic, right?
That's right.
I think we're going to phase out of that as technology.
I think so too.
We're
It's
starting
already
to see it already.
changing. Yeah, it's changing
But
already.
before that started, what was happening there? Like, how would wine sell? Was it really just would it be like local newspapers? Was it Hugh Johnson? What was kind of moving the needle?
there were
What was moving the needle for you guys back then?
I think things like, at that time, really, Wine Spectator was kind of just getting a strong hold.
So how about even like a hair before that? Before the Spectator?
Before that, I think some of the early wine writers like Frank Pryl for the New York Times was big. Dan Berger for sure. A number of writers that you don't even hear about anymore, but there were some that were kind of propelled along.
Do you remember?
Let's see.
Was it Finnegan?
Finnegan was one. Oh, Lawrence Balzer, Robert Lawrence Balzer was also in his heyday then, and he did an educational program too. You'd go down, he'd invite winemakers down and promote the wines, and you get to introduce your brand and to consumers directly, and that was a lot of fun.
How about newspapers? How about
newspapers? Some for sure. Also the wine competitions. There's a lot of
the golds and the silvers back then meant a lot.
Gold medals for wineries meant a lot more than they do now, which is almost a shame really, because in other countries, like I went to judge in Australia, their wine awards are like the Academy Awards. Huge. They meet at a big convention
We should
center.
have an Academy Awards of wine, right?
It would be a blast.
I really gave a lot of thought,
blast.
probably about 2 years ago, to do the Wine Library TV Awards and do just go for it.
It would be
It's something I still may do.
Yeah, and it builds excitement, and they kind of would do, and the winner is the envelope, and all the wineries would come.
Chris Mott, come up here, best cameraman in a comical wine show. Okay,
but yeah,
so that was the landscape.
That was the landscape. A little different than it is today.
And did you view White Zinfandel at the time as really the great gate opener?
Kind of an intro wine, a good entry-level wine for people. It could still be made, of really nice quality, really well-balanced and all of those things, but it was a good introduction for people, and also cash flow for little struggling wineries. For the Buehlers, that was certainly the case. They had beautiful Cabernet and Zinfandel, and they had the Pinot Blanc, but you had to wait 2 or 3 years to sell them. You have to buy oak barrels, so to get instant money, I mean, the White Zin was a 30-day product. You know, you'd make it, you'd bottle it, boom, it's out by, like Beaujolais. It was sort of the Beaujolais of California was White Zin. Just get it out. You don't have to buy, you know, anything for it, and it's instant money coming back. So for little wineries, that was a little bit different, you know, different scenario than what we work on today.
And then from Bueller?
From Bueller, by then I'd married Beau and had a couple of kids, so really wanted to focus on, you know, being a mom, number one, but still wanted to, you know, make wine and work on an independent level. So I went to work for the Della Valleys, actually, which was really a super opportunity that came along, and, you know, they were not heard of.
So they weren't?
Completely unheard of, yeah. They had made like one vintage, actually 2 vintages. They hadn't released any wine yet. Joe Cafaro was their consultant at the time. Didn't really have time for them, so I met with Joe and he said, yeah, I've got this one client, you know, if you want to go into more part-time independent winemaking, would love for you to meet them. And it kind of handed me off to them. We clicked instantly. I loved Gustav. He was,
he was a
just,
character, right?
Yeah, a character and a true friend in every, just the best sense of the word. I really, we kind of had a mutual admiration, I think. I really appreciated him and all of his enthusiasm, and really what an honor. I got to help create his dream for him. So that was a great opportunity for me. And also it really helped my reputation, because putting them on the map also really put me on the map as well. And getting,
I mean, those were some of the most sought after. I mean,
at that time,
Maya
yeah,
was the single most sought after wine when I got into wine.
At that
from
time,
California.
it
Number
was,
one.
Yeah, and that's when Parker was kind of really kicking in, and I had, for that wine, 2 back-to-back hundreds. That didn't hurt, you know what I mean? So it got, all of a sudden, it started getting notoriety. At the same time, I also had Screaming Eagle as a client. So, and they were unheard of at the time. So again, I had...
And that was a little bit later, right?
92, yeah. I started with Della Valley, right? 88. By 90, they were starting to get some pretty good press. 92 and 93 Della Valley Mayas both got 100. So did the 92 Screaming Eagle. So my reputation was starting
points.
Was starting to just vault. And so since it
and
was
the Screaming
more
Eagle thing became, I mean,
it
for a lot of
crazy.
you that didn't live through it,
yeah,
that was the most insane. I mean, people, like, you've got to give me like one insane Screaming Eagle story, like where somebody offered you like a car for a bottle or something insane.
Just
like,
about,
right?
Just about.
I mean, people.
Yeah.
I remember people telling me like things like they didn't know that I worked for my dad's store, and I'd say, kid, I know you got the Screaming, which we didn't, as you know. I know you guys have Screaming Eagle.
Right.
You know, listen, I'll make a deal. I'll give you $1,000 if you go dig one in the back room. I mean, people were insane.
I know. And still, it commonly trades for that now. I mean, if you could find it for $1,000, it would be a deal, especially those earlier vintages.
Crazy, right?
Unheard of, yeah.
Do you have like one insane story that stands out or anything that, I mean...
Not really.
Did people call you and email you, hit you up and be like,
yeah, they all
if you
wanted
ever
it.
do anything?
Yeah,
how'd you deal with that?
I know. Well, you know, it's just, everybody calm down. It's just wine at the end of the day, but it's a delicious wine, but it was quite an amazing chapter, really, of my story. To be part of that and propel that and make that happen was really a lot of fun.
And so then at the time
I was there for 14 years, and from 92 until the winery was sold in 96, and I didn't stay with the new guys. It's going to be a little different chapter now, but you know, it's onward.
Yep.
And so meanwhile, while my kids were growing, and as soon as they went to school, I was able to take more work. So just was very selective about my client list, and I worked for the Graces, for Grace family, for about 6 years. So during kind of the peak of like the cult status wines, 3 or 4 of them were mine.
Which ones were yours?
Well, Della Valley, the Maya, Screaming Eagle, Grace family. Let's see, who else? Probably those 3. I was getting La Serena going also at that same time, 94, just shortly thereafter. Making it in a lot the same style as what I did for the others, but it was kind of a little side project for me before, kind of a little sleeper on the side. Didn't really promote it too much. It was sort of just word of mouth because I didn't have very much wine to sell either. So anyway, this is different now. That's partly why I'm in New York too. It was a little bit too well kept of a secret, and so I
understand.
Yeah, so the other side of the coin is I actually need to introduce the brand to have people find it. So yeah, those were some of the ones of the heyday. Also David Arthur. Who else? Paradigm I've been with since 91. Still with them. They're great and very, very consistent wines that are actually also pretty affordable.
So you started the brand in 94. So you're fully focused on this. Are you still doing consulting for brands?
I am.
For
yeah. I'm still...
As of right this moment?
This moment, my clients, my winemaking clients, I kind of divide into my winemaking clients and my consulting clients. So winemaking are my day-to-day winemaking projects where I have everything, I'm in charge of everything from when we pick till the corks are in. That's my job, wine production and everything that goes along with that. The consulting clients are different because they have a winemaker already.
You're just kind of overseeing.
I would
Advisory
go
board.
or be an outside palate for them. Really, it's their wine. I don't even really necessarily want to be mentioned. Really, it's them. I'll just back them up and troubleshoot, improve blends, things like that. So,
Do they often want you to be mentioned?
well, they do, but that's a whole different deal. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yes,
you know,
I do. It's your name. I get it.
It is. It
So
is.
what is what is the
So
kind
my
of stable
winemaking
right now?
clients, the stable would be, besides La Serena, Amuse Bouche, which I'm also a partner in, a little brand called Van Perdu, which is...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's kind of a label kind of crossed between La Serena and Amuse Bouche, actually. It's sort of meaning lost wine, Van Perdu. It's sort of all of our
Very cool.
seconds, things that don't make the first two blends, but really makes a delicious blend on its own, bottled all in 5-liter bottles with this sort of 3D lenticular process on the labels.
You
that
just got
are
the nerds excited.
super cool. Yeah, they'll be looking that up.
Okay,
You
cool.
think about lenticular as like those glasses that we would wear where it looks like the eyes are open and closed. It's that on the label. The first one has a floating bottle in the ocean with a like a lighthouse, and so when you turn the label, it looks like the bottle is floating in the ocean. It's
That's
super
pretty
cool.
cool.
The next vintage has a chef juggling like pans and loaves of bread, and so when you move the label again, he's totally juggling. It's this 3D, very cool label. Yeah, and so we trademarked that process for wine labels. So we have that, and it's on the it's on Van Perdu. Okay, so we got Amuse Bouche, we've got La Serena, we've got Van Perdu. A little one called Au Sommet that's going to be out in a couple of years.
I don't know that.
Yeah, it's new. There's no wine out yet.
Can I have it all?
You could probably sell it in a flash. I know. Cabernet and Petit Verdot blend. Au Sommet means at the summit. It's at the very top of Atlas Peak, and it's going to be just a delicious hillside cab blend.
Awesome.
Paradigm, which I mentioned before. Ravana, I've had since '01.
Great wines.
Thank you.
Great wines.
Barber Vineyards.
Yes. That one
know
you've been,
Barber?
of course, that one has been,
Since '95.
Yes.
Yeah, Jim Barber and I have worked together.
is he a vineyard manager?
He's a vineyard manager. One of the best in the business. He's just absolutely one of the best. And I hooked up with Jim at Grace Family. He was vineyard manager at Grace when I was their winemaker, and we work very, very well together. And so he wanted to start a brand. He's been a vineyard manager for a long time, so so I started making his wine, and he farms my grapes. So
it's a good little deal, huh?
It's a good little arrangement. Yeah, we kind of trade work, so it works out quite well. So his is a delicious Cabernet blend, Cabernet Cab Franc. Let's see, who else do we have? Paradigm I mentioned. Oh, the Lamborns I've been with since '96, '97. Delicious
They make great
Zinfandel.
scents.
Yeah, thank you. They meaning me.
Yes. I just talk in brands as they.
They as we. Yeah. Zinfandel and now Cabernet, which a lot of people don't know that they're
I didn't
Cab.
know.
It's Howell Mountain Cab. It's beautiful.
Cool.
Huge and very rich and very distinct, actually, very unusual. Yeah, and then Fantesca is a new client for me. I've had them about a year. Chardonnay, Cabernet, those two wines. Let's see, who else? Kenzo Estate. They're just about to open their cellar. And that one I started as winemaker, but it's going to be a big project, so I've hired a full-time day-to-day winemaker. Really, I'll oversee winemaking there and work more as a consultant, but really do their blends and stuff like that. So a little bit of a different mix for that
Hybrid.
one. Yeah, exactly. Hybrid job there, a combination for sure. That's pretty much my winemaking group, and then a couple others that I just do consulting work for. So
Okay. So
it's busy.
how did you come up with La Serena? I mean, this is your brand.
This is my
So
brand.
this is it. I mean, everybody in the whole industry when this came out, I remember chattered, how in the world did she not call it Heidi Barrett? So, there was a lot of talk of that. Did you get a lot of that kind of question?
I did, and a lot of people were, why aren't you going to name it after yourself? And it makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm just,
You're humble.
I'm a little more humble than that, I guess.
Lad.
Yeah, I guess.
what came to mind.
Lassie.
Lassie, thank you.
Exactly.
I don't know where to go with it.
Yeah, so I can't quite splash my name across it. I think people, but it is very teeny here on the back label.
It's a
See, I
pretty
didn't sign my
signature you
own
have.
signature. It's on there, so people can find it if they
Okay, so
if they
you
look.
knew you weren't going to call it
Wasn't going to
Heidi
call it
Barrett. So
after myself. Yeah.
What happened? How did you get there? Was it difficult? Did you have a name right before the name?
No, it's hard to find a name that's not already taken. It really is. If you've ever looked for names or what's trademarked, what could you use? What is something that means something to you that would be great, that's actually easy for people to pronounce or maybe have some special meaning? And a lot of things were already taken. So we came upon La Serena from this. It's actually a card game in Mexico called Loteria, and all of the cards are nouns, and one of the cards is La Serena. There's all different nouns. It's almost like a little Mexican bingo game, kind of, and kind of just a folk art kind of a little set. The cards, some people collect the cards. There's T-shirts printed with the cards and all of that. But we're big divers also, Bo and I, and so we've been to Mexico a zillion times on dive trips, and that became a good option because La Serena means the mermaid, obviously, but kind of the magic element of mermaids. It's a magic thing. We know there's magic in wine. We all know it. We're drawn to it just like a moth to the flame. But also that I'm a big diver and love the ocean, so it's a way for me to sort of combine passion for wine, passion for diving, and also this little magic element that's a good personal symbol for me.
Great answer.
Yeah.
So let's get into the first wine. Maybe we should taste some wine. Huh?
Let's taste.
This is the 07 Moscato Azul from Napa. And what is the suggested retail of this? Just suggested.
$30.
Okay.
Yep.
Blue bottle.
Blue bottle, yeah, which is where the Azul comes in. Also, blue cork, which
I like that.
saw the blue cork. Yeah,
I like the
that
marketing.
Too.
Good
Yeah,
job.
Me too.
Okay.
Yep. So it is a dry muscat, and called it Moscato Azul because I didn't want to put Muscat Canelli on the label as the name of the wine because it doesn't give you any indication about style. You would have no idea if it's a dessert wine or if it's off dry or if it's dry.
Good point.
So I called it Moscato Azul. I really wanted to use that blue bottle. And
were you worried that it was going to have like the Luna de Luna flavor?
Yeah,
like,
I was.
Did that run through your mind?
It did go through my mind, but
You're a risk taker. I mean, that's a ballsy move.
It was. It was definitely gutsy, and I really saw
I said
it.
ballsy.
I know you did. Your voice. I would say gutsy. You
Go
call
ahead.
it whatever you like.
Okay.
But you're right. Thank you. I did feel like I'm kind of jumping off the cliff in this one, but fortune favors the brave. Don't forget that. You got to go big. If you're going, you're
go
in.
home, right?
Yeah, that's it. I came to play. So.
What's fun about this was you've worked in New York market today, so
I did.
3 wines except the last one, which I caught you off guard with at the end.
You did.
We'll talk
That
about
was a
that later.
surprise.
Have been open for pretty much the whole day, right?
All day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So.
And the other 2 Syrahs too. I didn't bring everything. But a little selection. Yeah, they're open all day. They should show well. This could be a little more chilled. But
you might remember I love room temperature.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm all about room temperature.
Yeah,
what's your
really
feeling
get
on room temperature?
The perfuminess
For white wines.
Well, you're going to get really You're going to get the true character, but for just pure enjoyment, I like them a little more chilled because I like the refreshingness of that.
And the heat comes through.
It can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
okay.
can.
So let's give it a sniffy sniff.
Okay, sniffy sniff. I got my official thing. Okay, so here's why I make this wine. For starters, the nose, it's gorgeous. I love the varietal character of Muscat. And I was going to finish telling you I put dry Muscat Canelli on the label so that when people pick it up, they see, oh, it's dry. It's not just any Muscat.
Sweet.
It's not a sweet wine. It's actually it's Muscat made as white wine. You can do that, but no one does. So I thought, how fun, have something new.
I remember when we did the Nashville event, how over the top popular this was with 100 people in the crowd.
People kind of heard
the aromatics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, everybody knows. I mean, that's why there is a sniffy sniff.
Right.
To me, the aromatics in wine is massively underrated.
Totally
in
agree.
our society.
And
right
we talked about that, and we clicked on that.
Clicked on that. That was our
agree
love.
more. That
We
was our
hugged it
little
out.
high five
That
moment.
was.
Yeah,
Let's
it was
hug.
like,
I like
okay.
the hugs.
Oh, group hug.
So, but honestly, I mean, to me, I'm obsessed with this, hence the snippy sniff. This, to me, I really can tell you, and they've heard me say it again many times, the bouquet, the nose of this wine is almost worth the price admission for me.
I think so,
I mean,
too.
I want to just keep smelling it.
It's at least half of the enjoyment is for sure the
There's
nose.
a really interesting, like, orange blossom kind of thing going on here.
Yeah.
Right?
Orange blossom, sort of towards honeysuckle. Sometimes it's white peach. Sometimes it's more tropical.
It is white peachy.
In the fermenter, it's quite pineapple-y, actually, and sometimes passion fruit. Right during fermentation, with all the CO2 coming out the tank,
sings.
Oh my gosh, it's one of my favorites to go check every. Yeah, I'm like, I gotta check.
You like doing it for fun.
I do.
I almost
do
feel
make
like I
this for
should
fun.
dip my fingers and.
I have. Before.
Have you?
Oh yeah.
No way.
I totally have.
That's awesome.
That's so funny that you said, because I always joke about that. Mike, you just want to dab a little behind each ear. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It has that beautiful
Let's give it a roll.
floral quality. Yeah. Jet's buckets, nice touch.
I appreciate it.
Very nice.
You know, to me, I've pushed so many people to look at this wine in the past. It really, it breaks the mold, which I think is so important in this day and age where everybody's kind of staying within the same realm.
It's so true.
Which, listen, $30 Moscato in this market, you know, it's you've got to really hustle and go work the market. But once people taste this wine, it's undeniable. You can put it up against so many of the $40, $50, not that they're exactly the same, but some of the Rieslings that you see from Austria or Germany. I mean, this is high quality, great acid, real white wine.
And it's got some body. Can you feel that? I mean, I can still
course.
taste it. It's like lasts minutes longer. It actually has length, which is hard to do in white wine. You know, it's not just a quick, you know, a quick little wine. It's actually really refreshing but crisp. But it's the real deal. You know, it's just round and lush, but it's got that crisp acidity and fabulous with so many different foods.
To me, this is where people really need to look at if they're pairing something with, you know, fish. You know, to me, I'm drinking this and I'm like, man, I would take a whole fish with the eye.
Yeah.
You know, suck the eye out of it. You know, I mean, that's what I want to drink this with. But it has the casual aspects of being by itself.
You can absolutely enjoy this by itself. I have many times, I must say. Drink it often when I'm out just in my garden when I get home from work. Take a glass of this out to go pick some tomatoes, or while we're cooking, we drink this.
These people in Napa have it good, don't they, Mom? We're driving through the smog and pick up some Wendy's on the way home at 9 p.m.
Out picking tomatoes.
Now, how was this received today? What did you? How many restaurants did you see today in comparison to retailers? Was it all restaurants today?
It was but more restaurants. We only went to a couple of retailers and maybe 4 or 5 restaurants. There's a restaurant called Tao that it's the perfect fit for that restaurant. I know. As soon as I walked in and saw their Buddha and all of their...
You knew you were in.
Yeah.
You're like,
and
I got
sushi
this one.
and they did. She loved the wine, so that was great.
Good.
Yeah, and some of the others are kind of considering it for like a by the glass pour and stuff like that. It just depends on
the program, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Let's move on.
Yep.